Sending the thing to the chat.
Oh, okay. It's got to have priorities. Hello. Welcome on into another Monday Live with the Whiskey Crusaders. As usual, I'm Will.
I'm Sarah. That's Matt.
There he is over there.
He's on a delay.
We're joined today by Will from Barrel Craft Spirits, the brand creator of Stellum, I want to say. I didn't really listen very much to Matt when he was talking to me earlier, so I could be very, very wrong.
Sounds about right, too.
Matt, who do we got in the chat with us already? We should be getting a lot more here pretty soon.
Oh, I'm waiting for the ad. Oh, we got a new ad today. Let's see what the ad is today. It says active apparel from backcountry.com. All right, a new ad. Cool. We're still running around. All right. We get excited by the news. So usually we get StreamYard. All right, let's see who we got today. We got our buddy Sam over at Stellum Spirits. Please check out Sam's channel, another great whiskey tube channel. We got Brian P., John Cran, Zach Andrews. How's it going? Jim Morris, Jay Armstrong, John Krant, Mike Franklin, Joe Van Name, Fellow Whiskey Song, Wesley Zeller, William Devilar. Let's reset the chat because it's fun. Oh, look, there's Alex. And let's see. Oh, we already got a super chat from Sammer. AJ Lopez. How's it going, AJ? Good to see you the other day. All right. No one listens to Matt. Well, you know, it is what it is, Sam. Someone has to. All right. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. Yep. All righty. Let's see here. Hey, Donald. How's it going? Irish Whiskey Yoda. And let's see here. All right. I think we're caught up for the moment until everybody realize we go live. All right. So, Will, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little about Stellum and how you got in the industry and everything.
My name is Will Schragis. I work for Barrel Craft Spirits, which is now also Stellum Spirits. We are a Kentucky-based blender and bottler of spirits from all over the world. In barrel, we've been around since about 2013, making single-release cask-strength batches of mostly bourbon, but also rye and American whiskey. More recently, a lot of really sexy, unique finishes on whiskey and blends of different sexy, unique finishes. About 2.5 years ago, we started a project that was a little bit more Indiana bourbon and rye focused, although still a blend of bourbon and rye from all over the country, but with the idea of creating a singular product that was a unique flavor profile to us, but also very sort of approachable from a flavor profile way and more approachable from a price point way. Unlike Barrel Craft Spirits, where we are unconcerned with things ever being the same, we are only concerned with being the best that we can at any moment. Stellum Spirits has two very consistent forever whiskeys, a bourbon and a rye. Similar to Barrel Craft Spirits, we only do things at cask strength. And that really comes from Joe Beatrice, the owner and founder of both, in wanting to enjoy whiskey at cask strength. And so he makes that rule, and we all don't even ask any questions anymore.
It's a good rule. I appreciate that. He drinks whiskey the way it ought to be drank by everyone.
And so, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say we all have that same.
We all have to agree.
Put it out at cask strength and let people dilute it if they need to.
Yes, please.
And so we launched Stellum, even though we started making it about 2.5 years ago. We launched it about a month ago, and the reception has been really exciting and, to be totally honest, really humbling. We're still a 30-person or so company, both brands together, and that's HR, bottling, marketing, compliance, sales, everything. We're a smaller company than some of the liquor stores we work with.
I had no idea you guys that small.
And as a sales team, there's 7 of us around the country now total, and we're managing 2 large brands in 46 states, and
impressive.
Stellum has already sold about as much as we thought it would sell through October, and it's been a month.
Insane.
And what's been so cool is it has not been by pushing it in. It's been distributors ordering 100 cases, and then the next day saying we need 100 more, and stores ordering a case and selling it out, and the next day ordering 5 cases, and even bars and restaurants, as they're opening up, wanting to have unique things on the back bar and decorating bars with Stellum in a way that we were ready for it in terms of all of the barrels that are laid down for Stellum, and we were ready for it in terms of we know how to handle a big brand. We've launched Dovetail, we've launched Armida, we've launched Seagrass, we launch a new batch of bourbon every 3 or 4 months, but it's been a crazy month, and in a good way, I haven't gotten a lot of sleep.
I bet not. All right, another from Zach says, thanks to Will and Sarah in advance. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it. Yes. Yeah, that's the best thing I could possibly figure. Is I think you get this thing in people's. All you do is put this in people's mouths, and they're like, "Where? How many can I buy?" That's seriously the way I look at this. Like, and we did a review on this the other day, and I already say hands down the best new bourbon on the market by far this year. It's not even close.
Thank you so much for saying that.
We said the same thing about the rye, but then we did another video recently, and it may just we'll talk later about that though.
Also amazing.
I think we should start off with this bourbon though.
Yeah, for sure.
You should put some on our mouths.
Yes, please.
Because you know me, I can't go too long without it. I'll start getting itchy and crazy.
All right, so I do have a question. So I know that's basically the same bottle as Pappy. So did you guys do that on purpose? Because I think it is. It's hilarious and it's better than Pappy.
It is not on purpose. This is a pretty classic bottle. It's actually historically a cognac bottle.
Really? I did not know that.
And it's made by a French company. And as a company, we want to be like streamlined in our visual and like ethical and like spiritual approach to everything. Joe Beecher is the owner and founder of Barrel. I think I already said that, but just when I say Joe, I'm talking about the owner of Barrel, who I've worked for like 7 years now. I was the first employee.
Awesome.
And I remember maybe in my like second or third month, we were at the office of our distributor in New York, and they have this beautiful bar in the office with all the different spirits they represent. And I had been there before. I'd worked for a rum brand before Barrel, but Joe hadn't been in the office, and he came in. We're sitting at the bar and we're like tasting through the other spirits with the spirits portfolio manager, just because we're curious. And there's this other whiskey that will remain nameless. And Joe tasted, and he's like, this is really good spirit, and he like all of a sudden he's like, I don't understand why they use a fake cork. And that was the moment for me that was like, I'm not working for someone who's like a whiskey nerd. I'm working for someone who's a products nerd, who is like I can't ask someone to pay $54 or $80 or $100 for a bottle and feel like it's really good unless it feels good when they open it. And like Stellum, just like Barrel, is very liquid forward. Like we want people to judge it based on what's in the bottle, but we also want to put a thing around it that is worthy of the thing inside. And so these bottles are made by a really well-respected glass producer, and we needed, based on our capacity for bottling, to pick a bottle that we knew we could get out reasonably quickly. And so we went through all the options, things that also we knew were in production in a way that there would be enough bottles to make this a 10, 20, 30,000 case brand in the first couple of years. And this was everyone's favorite. And then after that, we figured out, like, someone was like, that's the Pappy bottle. And everyone's like, and then it became kind of tongue in cheek. Like, okay, yeah, let's put in the Pappy bottle.
I think it's great. Smack them around.
I think it's great too. There was a question up here.
I'll grab this real quick from our buddy from Bourbon Bites. Go ahead and check out Clifton Channel. Please check. I was actually on with him last week at Texas Whiskeys. So Stellum is a strong for my best of 2020 list. Go buy it. Cheers, guys. Thanks, Clifton.
Thank you so much. Cool. I was with him recently too.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. We
Sam wants to know who's handling distribution.
Is Sam in Texas?
Sam's in California.
In California, it'll be Pacific Edge.
Okay.
Who is it in Texas?
In Texas, Stellum is with a distributor called Victory, and Barrel is with a distributor called Favorite Brands.
Okay. I know both.
Yep.
Victory Wines is I like that portfolio.
And then, is it a Total Wine specs find or need to branch around?
So Stellum, it will be it's probably in Texas available at almost every Total Wines already. Specs has said really good things about it. I haven't seen a picture of it on a spec shelf yet, but I suspect it'll be there. Reasonably soon. But also from Barrel, we built Barrel from the ground up with people who were willing to listen to us, and so we don't ever want to be a company that has independent retailers feeling like they're left out. And so we want Stellum to be something that is available wherever you want to buy it. And I know every brand says that, but like we do not intend for this to be an allocated product. This is us taking a very big, ambitious, expensive step into being a national brand, and like being really confident that it for the price, it's like value and quality above anything else you'd see.
Yeah. Quick question: if you've already sold what you thought you'd sell all the way till October, is there going to be a scaling issue? Are we going to be able to still maintain Stellum on the shelves if there is a big push for everybody to buy all of a sudden?
When we originally put a launch plan to Stellum, which took months, the idea was to leverage what we had with Barrel in terms of distribution and go to 46 states almost instantaneously, which is like the idea was let's arrive like a national brand. That's what you think of. And then we went into the first couple states just because they were the people we talked to first, and they ordered twice, 3 times as much as we expected them to. And then they turned around and ordered more. And so we held it back. We're only in about 13 states right now because we don't want to launch with distributors until we can guarantee them a reasonable amount of stock. And so the answer is no. In the places that it exists, we are not at all worried about stock. In some places, it won't get there till later this summer, whereas we thought it would be there earlier. But we have already switched around sort of bottling capacity in a way that we have no intention of running out anytime soon. I hope I eat my words and we run out, but it's going to have to be it's going to be really popular before that happens. Okay. And if so, it'll just be a bottling capacity thing and it'll be back shortly.
Okay. So you say you're in 46 states, you say?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the 4 you're not?
Wisconsin, no good reason.
Oh, because John wanted to know who your distributor in Wisconsin.
Yeah. We're launching in Wisconsin, hopefully in the next 6 weeks or so. We just never found a partner that we liked, and because we've been a company that's growing so fast, we don't have a person based anywhere near there. It just hadn't happened, but there's no good reason. West Virginia, really complicated control state, and Barrel was just at a price point where no one was trying to order it in the quantity that they were excited about us presenting. And so we didn't want to spend a ton of time forcing our way into West Virginia.
Right. Go back next month. They'll tell you something different.
Yeah. Hawaii, we were about to launch, and then the manager from the portfolio that we were about to left his job, and we just haven't gotten back in touch with anyone, but we'd be ready to go there in a second. And it's not a problem. What is the 4th?
Are you in Alaska?
We are in Alaska.
Ooh.
Sorry, Maine. It has not yet reached Maine, but it will be there shortly. It used to be Ohio. We used to be 45 states in Ohio, but we are now available for custom order in Ohio, and we're applying for a listing. We'll hear back about it in June.
Excellent.
Right.
Okay. So there you go, folks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
sorry
locally,
if you're in those states.
We can, poor states. AJ says you can get an Empire and Allen.
Yep, and Empire has been a early adopter of a lot of our products, and so we love them for that.
They're delicious and a great
Specs
store.
in Dallas on Northwest Highway.
Oh, wonderful. So it showed up at Specs. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes.
Perfect.
Does William have it?
I have no idea. I have not talked to him about it.
I didn't see it when I was there a week ago, but that was a week and a half ago. So.
And there's our buddy Marty over at Whiskey Nose. Check out Whiskey Nose. You guys haven't talked to his channel yet. Another great YouTube channel. So speaking of Empire, I actually got a notice today about they're going to be picking a single barrel Stellum. So with Bobby, and actually they've reached out to me to start doing their barrel picks with them. So it's going to be a really fun adventure at Empire.
If Stellum is really focused on these 2 whiskeys, the back end of Stellum is we know that people like single barrel picks, and even though we are Barrel and Stellum are both blending houses, we believe very much in making things that are greater than the sums of their parts.
Sure.
We have this extensive Indiana barrel collection now because of having to pipeline the ingredients for Stellum that come from Indiana, and so there's a quiet giant of a single barrel program behind both the bourbon and the rye. There's about 2,000 barrels of each earmarked to be single barrels over the next 3 years.
Wow.
Our hope with Stellum is to have people appreciate the brand for what it is in its core items, and then have all of the places and the groups that like doing picks and don't really get a lot of options at cash strength at this price. That we don't want to be the you get one a year brand. We want to be the if you can sell one a week, you can have one a week brand. And so as we are just keeping up, we're kind of limiting the single barrel program a little bit, but there will be pretty ample samples. And so I know Empire will for sure have one, but the hope is to have really anyone in Texas that is excited about having a single barrel at this price point. We would hope they would reach out. You can get us contact at stellumspirits.com or reach out to the distributor Victory, and we'll have them available.
Are you looking at putting the single barrels at around the same price point?
So the launch of the single barrels is at the same price point from us. However, the reality of pricing in the liquor world is like every tier has its own how much do they take. And so I would expect if Stellum is about $54.99 on the shelf, I would expect to see the single barrels around $59.99 because of orders of magnitude. Even it's that like we are happy to give people the empty barrel when they buy a single barrel, but that tacks a couple $100 onto the shipping for the distributor, and they sometimes pass that forward. And we've learned the hard way that you pick your battles. And so if someone wants to go out at $59.99 instead of $54.99 for a single barrel, like that's not going to be the battle that we're going to pick.
No.
But
well, and also, I mean, I don't mind paying $5 for somebody else's palate picking something. I don't find that to be outrageous. I don't think we are fine with it being a little bit more expensive. What we wanted to make sure is we didn't want to go out more expensive and then know that the system was going to add to that, because we didn't want this to be a $70 bottle.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so we're willing to take it on the nose margin wise a little bit to get it into market at pretty much the same price, so that when it hits the uncontrollable part of the market, it's not. But that also might become unsustainable for us too, because we know there's a reality in which the single barrels become more popular than the core, which is not what we are expecting, but you never know. And at that point, we might have to take a price increase also, because we're taking it on the nose every time we bottle one. Sure. Similarly, this is a brand right now that we're really happy about the price point, but there are certain brands that don't manage their distribution well, and they wind up getting people racing to the bottom. And the only way to fix that is to raise the price for a little while. And so a lot of times people think that price increases are like just suppliers grabbing more money, but sometimes they're suppliers just like teaching the market a lesson a little bit. Because if people start trying to charge $1 over cost, you end up hurting the really good stores who can't afford to do that.
Sure.
And anyway, that goes into sales strategy, which is another fun conversation. But we were tasting bourbon first, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So while we're tasting that, anything in the future with being in Canada?
Poor Donald.
Yes. So I'm very confident in my ability to figure out bureaucratic situations.
Okay.
I have not figured out how to be a independent producer and go to Canada yet. I have a meeting with a person that I trust very much in Kentucky next week about how he got his whiskey brands into Canada. Okay. And my hope is both Barrel and Stellum in Canada by the end of the year in some capacity, but I don't know if that means everywhere or in only the places that get the little things. But yes, we are not holding it back. It is just that the world of whiskey is not really set up to be an independent producer. It's set up to be part of a gigantic company. And as you start going overseas, if you can't have specific retailers on your side, it becomes really difficult to negotiate. And in Canada, there's no specific retailers to be on your side. So even though it is a wonderful whiskey market, it is a very hard one to be an independent player in. And so there's a lot of great brands that don't go to Canada for that reason. It's like the dunk on a good success around the rest of the world.
Yeah.
It's why you can go to like France and Italy and find good whiskey and rum, but you can't go to Canada and find good whiskey and rum.
Poor Canadians just can't get it right.
They have a lot of their own good whiskey.
Yeah, they do, and they
don't share it with us either.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of.
Guess we'll keep arguing with you. Don't give it either.
So
share.
Some quick tasting notes. We already have put out a tasting video on this that we go way in depth on it, but this bourbon is rich and viscous. The proof spike is there, but it's not something that grabs your palate and tries to make you,
cry.
Yeah, make you cry. It glides very effortlessly over the palate, and it's very, very well balanced. The black pepper ding at the end is quite lovely. The finish is forever.
Yeah.
And
I love the finish on it.
It's not anything out of the ballpark of bourbon, right? We're not playing in any territories whatsoever that are not, atypical bourbon notes.
I swear I didn't send this guy our like deck on. You're saying all the things that we want someone to say about the whiskey. So thank you.
It's what whiskey. It's what bourbon should taste like.
The idea with Stellum was.
I speak only the truth, sir.
Yeah.
I swear to you, I call it like it is, and I will call out BS every single damn time. I can't find any faults in this. I can't find anything I don't enjoy about this. This is
Same.
On my list of bourbon of the year so far, and we've only made it through May, or we haven't even made it through May. We're just starting.
I hope we can fast forward, and I'll come back and I'll say we had a great year, and you can say you're still bourbon of the year.
Absolutely,
I hope so too. Well,
I
don't. I hope I find 3 bourbons I like better than this. To be honest with you, because I'm selfish and I'm greedy. Yeah. I want for you.
A hell of a competition, that's for sure.
I want you to find 3 bourbons you like better, and then I want us to come out with a holiday release for Stellum and take back the crown in the last couple months.
Blow me out of the freaking water.
That would be amazing.
That's what I want as well.
But really, the guidelines in blending Stellum. So Joe is on the blending team with Trip Stimson, who has worked with Joe for as long as I have, and a woman named Nick Christensen, who has been with the company for about 2 years now.
Okay.
And the guidelines with Stellum was do what people like, but do it a little better. It wasn't put something opulent out. It was that Indiana flavor profile, find a way to make it our own and highlight it with select barrels from Kentucky and Tennessee. Only use barrels that we have a pipeline of those ingredients so that we know we can nail not only the flavor, but the proof every time. And put out something that someone will immediately feel very familiar with. And then when you get to the mid palate and the finish, be like, oh, that's a little more going on than there are. Yeah. Than I thought there would be. And I think that the way that was executed is the base of Stellum bourbon is like a 5 to 10 year old Indiana base, but it's a mix of 3 mash bills. The 36% rye mash bill, which is the one everyone thinks is their favorite. The 21% rye mash bill, which is the one that actually is everyone's favorite.
It is everyone's favorite, right?
And then the 99% corn, 1% malted barley mash bill, which is not a very good bourbon because it's really one-dimensional, but it is a fantastic ingredient. And so I think what is special about the base of Stellum, which then gets like little hints of like old Kentucky and old Tennessee to like add to it, but the base, what's so special about it is that it exists in this tension of those 3 flavor profiles. And it gets that like fat, creamy, corn forward mid palate of the 99% without any of the abrasive or one-dimensional notes of it.
Okay. So when you're creating this blend, how are you keeping it from falling flat as you're creating this thing? Because I've heard all the time that like you're making it and it's this beautiful thing, and then all of a sudden you add in the wrong thing and then everything just collapses and all the flavors go away.
So there's a lot of vatting before adding.
Okay.
So a lot of the ingredients are vatted first and then added together. And there's a lot of testing that goes on in the lab, but also we would not have been able to do Stellum had we not been a whiskey company for 7 years, but we weren't a whiskey company that was producing 2 things for 7 years. We were a whiskey company that was producing a new thing like every 2 months for 7 years.
Right.
And so we have like done the mistakes. Can we fix it? Nope. Mistakes. Can we fix it? Yes thing. So many times at this point.
You have a lot of tricks up your sleeves.
Tricks up the sleeve, but also like we've been there. And frankly, Trip has been there for a bunch of companies. So like he came into it having been there a lot.
Yeah, Trip's awesome. We had him on about a year ago at this point. He's great.
Yeah.
And if you look at Barrel and Stellum as one company, you can see hints about, in retrospect, about what was coming based on small releases. So like, did you guys get Barrel Bourbon Batch 22?
I think we did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we got a sample of that one, and it was really, really. I'm pretty sure it was 22. I think we got 22 and 23. I'm pretty sure.
So 22 was a 5-year-old.
I think all I have is some single barrel bourbons.
Is that what you got left now? I know I still have a little bit of 22 and 23.
22 was a 5-year-old that was an Indiana base with Kentucky blended into it.
Okay.
Bourbon 13, which was almost a year before that, was a 5-year-old that the base was the 99%. We had used those ingredients before to put bourbons together. In fact, we used many of the ingredients in Stellum as minor ingredients in batches 25 and 27 and also 29 at Barrel.
Okay.
There are a lot of ingredients in Stellum that don't show up in Barrel because we've started pipelining the barrels very differently, but there's one, which is that 21% rye, which they are the we call it the Eevee barrels because they can evolve into more than one thing.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
No one calls that but me, but I was a Pokemon kid, so I called that. So the core of Stellum is about 80% is a blend of mostly 5-year-old, but also some older barrels of those two mash bills. The modifying parts of it are Kentucky and Tennessee as old as 16 years old. And I think there's that dragging finish, that like oxidative sort of peanut skin, walnut oily finish is the old Tennessee, just lasting a little bit longer than everything else. It gets covered at the beginning. You don't notice it at the beginning, but you get it at the end.
Totally agree. So Joe says you can introduce a finishing a sherry cask for Christmas release to win. That's the plan. Will you guys do any finishes, or just going to be just this in the single barrels and that's it?
I'm not really ready to talk about that yet. Okay. We want to keep Stellum easy to digest.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Product wise, but we know people want something hard to find at a Stellum, and so we want to be the brand that's easy to find, that's new and exciting. But we also know that like a lot of people are down for the chase, and so there will be some stuff. But Barrel is built around being probably the most complicated whiskey producer in the world at this point. Yeah. And so there's no reason for us to pull those projects into Stellum, because Stellum has this identity of like bourbon drinkers in America is everyone at this point. There's no archetype of bourbon drinkers. Stellum wants to acknowledge that and like be all about that in every way. And we want to be easy to find for people that are just getting into bourbon, or for people that like also drink margaritas and also drink White Claw and like also drink Coors Light, like all of those things. And so we don't want it to be a product where it's like, oh, like which Stellum do you have? Like it's Stellum. But there'll be some cool stuff coming out because frankly we can't help ourselves.
Yeah, kind of hard from based on who you're the founder is a little difficult not to.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, I'm gonna polish this bourbon off.
Are you ready to polish it off? Oh, it's so good.
You only gave us one sample.
You only gave us a little bit.
Well, we already drank most of it. The problem.
This is exciting for me, though. This is the first interview I've done about Stellum where it's available around the people who are interviewing me.
Oh, which is perfect. Yeah, they told everybody as soon as we tasted these, even before our review got dropped, I said, "Go buy this. You're gonna love it." Everybody thought it was like, "Holy shit, this is amazing."
Yeah, so, I'm enjoying just sampling it now.
Yeah, because I'm going to take some of this actually over to Liquor Hound because he wants to try it. So this should be awesome.
Nice.
Do you want to move on to the rye?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. At least you make it easy. Okay, dude, one quick question. Why, this is a thing that's funny. Why are ryes green on the bottle? Do you have any idea what?
Okay, you're the second person to ask me that in like a week.
Question.
And, okay. I have learned my lesson trying to be a whiskey historian on interviews like this, because I am sure there are people listening to this that know more about it than I do. Here is my thoughts.
Okay.
There was a first brand to do it, which wasn't Bullet.
Okay.
And then there was Bullet who also did it, and then it became the standard. And so even though there were people doing it before then, when Bullet, and I have to be careful because I'm live, but I have choice things to say about certain whiskey brands politically.
I don't blame you. We feel the same way about that brand, so that's fine.
And certain brands, no specific brand. There are certain brands I have choice things to say about.
Yes, they exist.
But it was debatably the most successful fast launch of a brand that has happened in my career of American whiskey. And they went in saying bourbon is red, rye is green, and people had done it before, but no one had done it the way that they did it.
Okay.
And I think at this point, though we don't want to be a company that is me tooing anyone, our bourbon's not red. When you don't have a reason for anything else, it is a really good way to communicate that it's a rye.
Right.
By putting a green label on it.
Okay.
At this point, that's what people look for.
Yeah, I just didn't know what historically the reason was. And I was still waiting for it, And
I think that there are historically some other reasons, and there's definitely people that did it before them. And I've heard like people say that like, well, the rye grain actually, like when it's ripe, is a little bit green, and
that's
people say it's more herbaceous.
Definitive answer.
But I think that the reasons for it are a bit like the gold standard. Like they are still there, but they're not the reason it's going on anymore. The reason it's going on is because it is a winless battle to fight it.
Yeah, no,
you don't get a lot out of putting a rye in not a green bottle right now, and
makes sense. Yeah, because we've heard the same story that's with the grasses and this why, but I just didn't know if it was actually definitive or that someone might know, you might know with the actual.
There are a lot of whiskey stories that I am confident are completely bullshit, but that one might be true. I don't know.
Oh yes, most of them are great marketing stories. There's no doubt.
It really feels like it only started recently, where everything just became a green bottle for rye. It doesn't feel like it's been like.
Yeah, I know, because if you look at like Rittenhouse and you look at Sazerac and like things that existed for, it's really, if you look at the ryes that are green, they're the ryes that became popular or rebranded post Bullet.
Right.
That makes
that
sense.
is
all of theirs are.
Yeah, Sagamore. None of theirs is green.
No, it's all red and white. Yeah, the
brands that were around and.
Yeah, I would argue though, Sagamore is a rye company, but it doesn't telegraph that so well. I love Sagamore's products, but and maybe part of it is Sagamore doesn't want to be Sagamore rye; they want to be Sagamore.
Correct.
The way that Whistle Pig isn't Whistle Pig rye; they're Whistle Pig.
True. Valid point.
They're not green either.
But a lot of these companies, like us, like with Stellum, we're Stellum, but then we're Stellum Rye, and that's kind of the way that like a lot of brands do it. They do the work on telegraphing their brand with a bourbon, and then they also have a rye.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Joseph says that Old Jim Beam is green.
Yeah, but Stephen says sorry. The bourbon's not like it. Feel free to stop throwing out, grab a few more. Exactly. Terrible stuff. No one wants it. And
I thought we had a troll for a second.
Exactly. No, that's one of our good friends.
No.
Hey Larry, how's it going? So you guys are going to the best bars in America. Check out Union 42 Bourbon and Brew in Kentucky. That's one of the best bars. Please check them out if you guys are ever in that area.
I will be down in Kentucky next week. So.
Ooh, if you're near Union, Kentucky, definitely go see Larry at his bar. It's one of the best bars.
If I'm there, I will do my best to go in.
All right.
He'll treat you right.
Yes, he will. Hey, Mark JG, welcome in.
Oh, okay. So this is herbaceous, minty.
It smells the way rye is supposed to taste.
Well, I should just start writing things down so that I can hold them up after you say them. We can play like the Newlyweds game of things I want you to say live.
So, a little known fact that our people who watch us know that William and I aren't the biggest rye fans.
No, so for them to say this means that much more.
For us to say this is a good rye, it's a big thing. It means something.
So the modus, whatever directive, whatever the phrase is for the rye, operandi, is that the phrase? Modus operandi, was make it smell like something that someone who loves the 95.5 mash bill will be excited about, and then make it taste like something who anyone who likes whiskey will think is awesome.
Yeah,
and so
correct.
The nose on it to me very much has that. I don't want to say like dill forward. It's more like a wintergreen or like a.
That's what we like about it,
right?
I don't like the dill. Yeah,
because I can't stand pickle in my freaking glass. Like I don't want pickle in my whiskey.
What is really interesting about the dill note to me is rye, especially Indiana style rye, smells more herbaceous. The flavor, the aroma profile doesn't give you as much fruit. It gives you more of that like greenery.
Yeah.
Dill specifically is an aroma flavonoid that is in American oak. And so when you get very dill forward ryes, you're smelling two things and your brain is trying to make sense of it. You're smelling the really herby rye and you're smelling the dill of the barrel, and your brain is giving it dill the herb because it has enough other herb stuff.
See, we get
that's why
dill
on younger ryes typically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also that might be because that flavor is it's getting out of the wood and it's not oxidizing and nothing's happening to it. So you're getting like straight wood.
Dill and mustard seed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
To me, like mustard seed is more of a rye smell, but dill specifically, if you smell like Zinfandel that sees a lot of virgin American oak, you'll smell like vanilla and dill in it, and it's because it's getting the oak congener. And so I think dill also comes from the distillate. Like there's an herby quality, but when it smells straight dill, it's because there's too much barrel influence on the herb.
Okay.
I think the tragedy of a lot of American rye is that rye is a wonderful grain in terms of what it can give flavor-wise to a fermentation and a distillate. It's why like white ryes are pretty tasty and like unaged bourbon is usually like gross because fermented rye is yummy and fermented corn is disgusting. That's why we make good beer out of rye. That's like
right.
That's why you can make sourdough out of rye. You can't really make a corn sourdough.
No, that'll be gross.
And so the American style of rye that has all this new oak on it, it's like it covers what might be a wonderful distillate with a ton of oak. And so the challenge with rye often is how to make something that shows distillate quality also. And what we have found with that is being willing to declassify the 7 to 10-year-old rye into the 4-year-old rye and picking 4-year-old barrels that are very distillate forward and then letting 7 to 10-year-old more oak opulent barrels speak as well is a very expensive way of making very good rye because it means pulling older barrels into younger barrels, but it also means getting some freshness because like 4 or 5-year-old Indiana rye is awesome. It's like what has made that mash bill famous. People think it's the old ones that have made it famous, but it's the quality of the cheap ones that have made it famous.
Cheaps.
And so Stellum it's a blend of 4 to 10-year-old barrels, mostly 4, 5, 6-year-old, 95% rye Indiana, and then there's some of the 51% rye Indiana, and then there's also Kentucky rye and Tennessee rye that is lot more corn in those mash bills, much fatter. It's the malt and the corn parts of the mash bills in the selected barrels that give it that like dad bod mid palate. It really hugs you in the mid palate. Yeah.
And it's just this dense mid palate. It's not just I like that dad bod reference because it feels hefty and just like it's rolling
it's hefty,
across
but everyone secretly likes it. That's why we call it dad bod.
Makes sense.
Everyone thinks they want a lean rye until they try a rye that has like a full mid palate, and they're like,
okay, yeah,
I get it. Rye is delicious.
Minty.
How long do you vat it for?
That's a good question. There's not an exact answer to that because after completion, it's not vatted for that long, but it takes us weeks to put these blends together. So there's parts of it that are vatted for long periods of time, and then there's ingredients that are vatted way in advance. And so it really like all together, we don't let it sit for that long. We do like a aggressive circulation and then a chill for a couple days. So we'll make sure that it's consistent throughout the entire blend. And we also will hold over really large portions of Stellum into the next blend to make it easier for us to nail the profile again.
Nice.
How big?
We call it daisy chain blending.
You call it daisy chain blending, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
That's
a really big sour mash process, more or less, when you do that?
No, so sour mashing is a fermentation process.
Right, but I mean, it's just your version of that, except for with blending instead.
Yeah, I guess it's a project. It's a strategy that we actually devised for the Infinite Barrel project with Barrel. Although with the Infinite Barrel project, we're putting new stuff in different ingredients, so it's changing. But the physical process we do for Stellum is pretty similar to the physical process we do for the Infinite Barrel project.
Okay. Very cool.
I love the mint on this. The spearmint wintergreen. Feels like you just brushed your teeth feeling in your mouth.
So it's very cooling.
It is very cooling.
Also, it has that like pineapple mint kind of quality to it. The like sweet spearmint.
Yes, absolutely. But then again, that the finish is just that nice black pepper that just.
And it goes forever, too.
That's what I want my rye to end with.
Thank you.
When I do find ryes I enjoy, it is because of how spicy they are. And it's usually because they're very cinnamon forward. This one is not super cinnamon forward. It's very minty cooling the entire time. But then that black pepper comes and just kind of wakes you up right as it's going down.
Absolutely. So with small batch, how many barrels approximately usually go into the small batches?
So we don't actually consider Stellum a small batch because we consider it a daisy chain, which is not a term anyone else uses.
Okay.
But a vatting for us of Stellum is about 6,000 gallons, which is, let's call it that 4,800 6-packs or so. Although Stellum's in 12 packs, so 2,400 12 packs.
Okay.
But not all of it came from that vatting. Parts of it, like a large portion of it, was left over, and then not all of it will actually get bottled.
That makes sense.
Basically, the idea with Stellum, even though we have to move it around so that we have 2 really large blending tanks, and then we have a bunch of 500-gallon stainless steel totes, and then 2 2,000-gallon tanks. We have to move it around after we bottle it down, and we take it out and store it, and then do other stuff with the tanks, and then move it back in and build it up again. That's kind of
cool.
There's a lot of moving around of liquid in our facility.
I need to come watch. Sounds like an awesome video to like just watch do like a fast fast forward through the whole motion of it going on. It sounds really fun.
One of the hidden heroes of the company is a man named Clay, who is the distillery operator, and he has to move pallets of barrels around so much to get just because of the way that our space is, we can't build it out to make everything accessible.
Okay.
And so I wish that we were perfect in planning what goes in the back and what goes in the front, but we're not. And so there's just days that like Clay is just playing Tetris all day with a forklift. And he's so good. Like he like just games out how to get things so well.
That's awesome.
And he is like, number one, will show up whenever he need and stay as late as he needs to get the job done. Like I hope for the rest of my life I get to work with people like him.
For real.
Real quick, again, you're not available in Hawaii, Maine, Wisconsin, and was it West Virginia?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to reiterate that because we've got some new people.
There are states that we are special order only as a control. So like if someone sends me an email from a bar or restaurant in Utah, I know how to get them the product. They can't go to a liquor store and buy it in Utah.
Well, you can't get much in Utah, so
right. But actually, you can get whatever you want in Utah if you're willing to play the games to get it.
Right.
Same thing for like Oregon. We're around in Oregon, but we're not listed in Oregon.
Gotcha.
Or in North Carolina and Virginia, certain items are listed, but certain things aren't. We are lucky that because we focus only on expensive things, like $54.99 is the cheapest thing we've ever put out. States are willing to deal with us for one case because it's a reasonable amount of money, and they just tell us that we have to pay to FedEx one case from our facility to the state, and then they make it happen. So if you email contact@barrelbourbon.com or stellumspirits.com, we'll figure out how to get it to you if you want it, is what I'm saying.
Do you guys have any information on your website as to like where you're at? I mean, I know some have, you can put your location and it'll tell you where you're close.
So we have a where to buy part of our website. First of all, there's some websites that ship listed there, and then there's also a store locator, which is fed directly by our sort of depletion tracking system. And so it should be very accurate. And if it's not, it's because our distributor is not reporting correctly, which then becomes a fun passive-aggressive phone call about the importance of reporting software to a distributor.
Absolutely.
Okay. What's that website?
Barrelbourbon.com or stellumspirits.com.
So either one.
Nice.
Well, they're different websites, but they both have a store locator on them.
Okay.
Speaking of barrel, here's our buddy Jason over at the Mash and Drum. If you haven't checked out Mash and Drum, please do. One of the great channels here on YouTube as well. He says, "What's up, guys? Barrel is killing it. Let's switch to that seagrass rules." And we agree, Jason. It is delicious.
Yes.
Thank you so much. You know, when we first launched Stellum, we were really trying to make it so that we were treating them like different companies.
Okay.
And so what we eventually had to we were being honest that Barrel made Stellum, but we wanted people to know that we had really different philosophies with the two brands, even to the point where Barrel is a dedicatedly apolitical brand. Barrel is we keep our heads down and we make good whiskey, and that is the only thing we do. Stellum, we're a little bit more wanting to be engaged with the people that are drinking the bourbon, what are you into and what matters to you kind of way. The impetus for Stellum from how to talk about the brand, how it looks, is we were launching this brand and we had all of this wisdom from 7 years of how to deal with things in America. And then there's just all of these terrible, corrupt dare I say, like bigoted things going on in the whiskey industry. And we were like, no, we're just not dealing with any of that with Stellum. And so Stellum is like, we don't want anyone to feel left out. We don't want anyone to think that there's like found it, like there's a recipe in someone's boot that we pulled it up. We didn't revive an old brand. Like we had this meeting where like, why do people keep reviving old brands for bourbon? What does that get? If nobody who drinks bourbon liked that brand now, why are you reviving the old brand?
Nobody remembers it. Nobody knows who it, like nobody cares. Why?
Why
What are you doing?
Stellum is like kind of loosely outer spacey. And that came from and Stellum is a like bastardization of the like Latin and Greek stellium or stelliar. But that came from Joe, like growing up as like a Cold War kid and like space as the final frontier and like a really American, like that was America for Joe when he was growing up. And so we think of space as like the unknown, but also the future. And then also like a little bit of the like intuition is important. Also, it's in the stars kind of gut feeling. And that was the fun branding conversation behind Stellum. Like what do we want the theme of this to be? We want it to be the future, but we don't want it to be like robots the future. We want it to be like space is unknown. If Stellum were a person, it would watch The Mandalorian, like that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny when I was doing the research for it, I was like, that's one of the things that came up is like, are you sure you don't want this other word for space? I'm like, nope, just want the whiskey brand. And it's exactly what you said. It was just really funny. That's what came up with the first thing on Google.
My email still said, I'm in Will at stellumspirits.com. And it's like, are you sure you didn't mean stellium? And it's like,
yep.
Nope, exactly I meant the thing on my email address.
I meant what I wrote.
But one of these days it's going to say, you sure you didn't mean Stellum Spirits?
That's right.
Someone's going to be like, nope, I meant Latin for stars. Like,
exactly.
No, that'll be the day you're like, yes.
Yeah.
So our buddy said it. I have to move on to it because I have it poured and I have it here. And so, yeah, I can't talk about it or say something about it and not talk about it. Our video for this will be coming out at some point. So your rye whiskey, your Stellum rye, was a contender for Rye of the Year. It was up there. It was like, oh yes, this is all the notes that rye needs to be. It's not dill. It's all of the things that I love in rye. And then Matt gave me freaking seagrass.
I'm glad you brought it up. I'm going to get scolded for talking about barrel on this interview, but I don't care.
Oh my freaking God. Is this stuff ever glorious?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So can I give you my, like, 1 minute why I'm obsessed with seagrass? Okay, this is my, like, why I'm obsessed with seagrass.
Yeah.
And I say this, full disclosure, Dovetail will always be my favorite thing we made because of the personal experience I had with helping launch Dovetail. And, like, Dovetail was the moment.
There was a long time. Go ahead. Sorry.
You go.
I was going to say, there's a long time that we would not mention Dovetail on names because I didn't want it to, like, go away too fast and like not be able to get it because it's one of my favorite whiskeys.
We wanted to make sure we got backups of the batches that we liked.
Don't go buy it all for my area right now. So
thank you.
Really whiskey I love, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Dovetail was like the launch and the success of Dovetail was the moment for me where I felt like I was a career person in the whiskey industry because of how much space Joe gave me to help craft not necessarily the blending of it, but the way we were talking about it. And the like, Dovetail is not over anyone's head, but it does not dumb itself down. It says exactly what it is on the label, and it's weird. And it involves one of my favorite wineries. And it's like, it acknowledges being bourbon declassified into American whiskey. It acknowledges things coming out of Indiana that don't see virgin oak. Like it is a like polite middle finger at all the things that like should be out there and aren't. And it's like delicious. But that being said, like I can't stop drinking seagrass, and this is the reason why. I sound so salesy right now. I'm sorry, but this is the reason why.
No, it's just
you sound passionate, is what you sound.
When you smell seagrass, it smells like a cool, fruity rye whiskey.
It really does.
It doesn't smell off profile at all. And when you try it, the front palate reads like a 118 proof whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then in the mid palate, everything falls away. And for 1 minute, you get this like zero gravity. All you get is apricot. For not 1 minute, for like a second. And then it comes rushing back and it finishes like a rye whiskey again. And
it's really cool.
I am really lucky that Nick and Joe and Tripp let me pretend that I'm on the blending team, because when I go down to Kentucky, I sit and I blend with them all day. And when they're workshopping things, they send samples to me to try. But I'm not doing it day in and day out. And I had nothing to do with figuring out how to get that to happen. And it is the most impressive blending feat I have seen in a whiskey. That and Balvenie 30, full stop. Those are the two things that like are able to like separate flavors for me in that way. That when you look at blending, the really difficult thing is how do you include things that are singularly awesome in one way and have them work with the rest of the blend and not lose their identity. And that third of it, the 10 to 16-year-old Canadian whiskey finished in apricot brandy casks, it gets this solo moment that is so cool to me. And like, I don't know, I could not name a whiskey that does that.
And the fact that it does, it has that journey where it happens right on the mid palate.
Yep. Right. And then it comes back. It's like,
it's wild.
It's like, I think of the videos where like those planes that like go to zero gravity for a second. And like everything floats and like everyone's like having a great time, like throwing tennis balls, and then like they fall back down.
Right. And then you have to experience that the opposite effect.
Yeah.
All the gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really like this a lot.
Yeah.
From our buddy Andy. Please do a Stellum pick. Well,
Okay,
Andy,
we will.
Oh,
there's one in the works at Empire Liquor, so it's coming.
Cheers.
It's gonna be great.
The vomit comment. Oh, for real. Oh man.
There's our buddy.
You want to experience those
Stanley
0
Maxwell.
G's, you got to experience 10 as well.
Oh, so you can vomit everywhere? That would be great. Fun times. Yeah, exactly. Like AJ says, the vomit comment. That's right.
And the nose on this is just so floral and fruity.
And
yet spicy.
Beautiful.
Right.
At the same time.
Spicy. Yes. It's got like a bell pepper in there as well.
It's like a dessert rye. It really is. Like I could just drink this for dessert. It's so good. But then you can also have it just as a regular drink. It fits everything you need in a rye, just on all these crazy directions. It's just beautiful.
About 2 weeks ago, I was in Dallas for 40 hours maybe. And one of my, like, I don't want to say closest friends, like we chat all the time, but person I'm most excited to hear from and like want to know forever, industry friends, is a man named Simon, who is the buyer at Pogo's in Dallas. Just like encyclopedic spirits knowledge and like can talk at any level and like knows his store as well as anyone. And he and some other people that I knew and I, like, we just met at this bar, Midnight Rambler, for like a couple hours while I was there. And I'm coming from New York, where like bars are like, restaurants are open indoors in New York, but you can't sit at bars in New York right now. And so I hadn't like been at a bar for a while, and we're sitting there and they had just gotten seagrass in, and we were trying to be a little incognito, but like they knew who I worked for, and like they knew that Simon had probably Class B'd them that bottle. And they just started making like classic sour builds, like daiquiri builds, but with seagrass. And I'm a well-behaved whiskey traveler. Like I don't make a mess. I got so drunk at that bar because it's 118 proof and they were just drinking daiquiri builds. It's like an ounce and a half, and they were so crushable and so good. It was like a delicious piney apricot daiquiri, but it was. And I'm sitting there being like, oh no, I'm gonna order this all the time. This is gonna be terrible. Like, oh, it's gonna be so hard.
That's hysterical. That's awesome.
So if anyone is in that part of Dallas and you just want to like, don't drive and go to Midnight Rambler and get it's not really a daiquiri because it's whiskey, but if you ask for seagrass daiquiri, that's probably how they'd make it for you.
Is it just the mix with like the daiquiri mix and then seagrass, or
no? It's like a classic daiquiri is lime juice and then simple syrup or some sort of sweetening agent, and then a spirit. And it is probably the easiest classic cocktail to do kind of well, and the hardest classic cocktail to do perfectly because there's nothing to hide behind. And so my advice is if you like sweet drinks, start with equal parts 1-1-1 in a daiquiri and shake it and strain it. If you like tart drinks, start with 2 parts spirit, 1 part lime juice, 1 part sugar, or 2-2-1. So like 2 parts spirit, 2 parts lime juice, 1 part sugar. That's usually a little bit too tart and booze forward, but some people like it. And then adjust from there. If you go to a really good cocktail bar, they will usually have a daiquiri spec that is very specific to their glassware and their daiquiri. Similarly, you get into these issues of like, okay, but what's the pH of the lime juice? Because not all limes the same acidity. Or what's the bricks of the simple syrup? Because no one's really measuring out simple syrup by weight. People are doing it by volume, and sugar is like different bricks per weight. But like that's how you start with what's my daiquiri build. And for people that are enjoying this at home, or for people that want to make an awesome drink for someone else at home, being able to nail a daiquiri is it looks hard, but it is impressive. And it's just like, you need fresh limes. You need to have made your own simple syrup pretty recently, or like spend a bunch of money on simple syrup, but don't do that. And like use a good spirit, because there's nothing to hide behind. And if you do that, try a seagrass daiquiri. It's not really daiquiri, but it's delicious.
Sounds really fascinating. We'll definitely give that a whirl. All right, so we got a question here from Donald. He wants to know 16-year-old Canadian whiskey. Very interesting. What Canadian producer is that coming from?
There are 2 Canadian producers that we work with for very old whiskey. There's a couple that it could be from. I'm not at liberty to say that out loud, but if you know Canadian rye well, there's really only 2 that it could be.
We have a really good guess where it came from.
So if you know the answer to what I'm saying, you're right. And it's everywhere from 10 to 16-year-old of that, and there's the 100% rye, and then there's some blended ryes as well in it.
Okay, nice. Okay, I know another.
You have to get me on my good.
But that's not the. There's also Indiana rye, Kentucky rye, and Tennessee rye in seagrass. But the part that is finished in apricot brandy is the Canadian rye.
Okay, so that's only that part's in the apricot brandy. Okay, very cool. Let's see, Larry. They make only 2, Larry. You need to definitely get this into Larry's bar. This would sell very well.
So Stellum has just bourbon and rye. But we also have single barrel bourbon and single barrel rye, and we are pilot launching a program where we are asking people who do barrel picks if they're okay with having a case of their pick held back and put into a blind mix pack of single barrel picks. And then if bars want a 12-pack of 1 or 2 bottles of picks from around the country, they can order it that way. And so you can have 6 different single barrel picks at your bar.
Oh, nice.
We're not rolling it out to everyone right away, but we're doing it as a pilot, because when we launched Stellum, a lot of people that have really amazing establishments around the country immediately reached out about barrel picks. And we thought, like, how cool would it be if Whiskey Crusaders does a barrel pick and it's only available in Texas, but you can also get it at, I don't know, Travel Bar in New York, which is an amazing whiskey bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if we know in advance to hold that case back, it's really easy for us to do, because Travel Bar will order a case of single barrel and it'll show up and they'll have 2 bottles of 6 different single barrels in it.
That's so cool.
But it's only a pilot right now, so we're being very careful about like who we work with and how we get it done, because it may be one of those things that like it's really cool and it takes a lot of time, and then people don't even like update their menus, so it's not worth it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All that talk, I had to have him get Dovetail down. One of the like 3-4 bottles of Dovetail that we have.
You guys you're like my favorites right now. Between Will like just like memorizing the sales bullet points of everything without reading them, and you saying that your favorite thing hands down is the thing that like career wise is my like warm and fuzzy whiskey. You're my favorites.
Fell in love at first sip of the Dovetail.
We got next time I'm in Dallas, we Midnight Rambler, and we'll drink some Seagrass sours. Just don't drive.
Yeah, just let us know when you're in town. We're happy to come meet you, or bring it over here, and we can make them in house.
I was gonna say, if we want to go to a bar, we go to Matt's, because Matt has the best bar in Texas.
He's got everything, not just whiskey.
Right.
But yes, Dovetail is it's definitely one of my
like
top
5 pours. Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you, Joseph. Amazing. That first, I still got some of that first batch. Oh my gosh, this stuff is. I hid it away.
Yeah, we didn't ever get a
freaking
first
good.
batch, but we got a bunch of the second batch, and we got a bunch of the third batch,
And then we
and we got a couple of. We got one of the fourth batch, and then we got
the sample of the fourth.
we got sampled the fourth. And
Will and Sarah, I'll put my email in private chat. No promises, but let me know you're looking for a first batch dovetail. I'm not sure if I have one, but if I have one in my house, I will. I'll see what I can do.
Nice.
That would be awesome. Definitely. Yeah, complete the collection. Got to catch them all.
yeah,
Absolutely.
uh,
Yeah, now I have to make this daiquiri thing. It sounds very good. I know what I'm doing after this stream.
So good.
all right.
Alrighty.
I'm gonna copy and paste that right now.
No, not in there.
I'm not gonna paste it in there. I'm gonna send
Okay.
it to myself.
Okay. I was like, don't be giving everybody that. That's our information.
People are like, I would not be appreciate that.
I'm easy to find. My email address is not secret. It's at the bottom of my signature and emails. You can look it up on the website. It's like not.
I'm gonna put it in right here.
The only reason I don't say it out loud on these interviews now is a couple times that has happened, and then I've gotten a lot of emails, and I've been like on a plane the next day, and I've missed them. Whereas if people go to contact, it still gets to me, but then there's someone who will be like, "Did you answer this? Did you answer this? Did you answer?"
Yeah.
I've learned in a good way. Like I have the privilege of being handled now, which is nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I put it in my my contact there. I'll shoot you an email later.
But because you're emailing me directly, I might ignore you by accident. So that's the trade-off.
You know, it's fair. It's worth the knowledge.
Well, I think my email, my Google, my Gmail comes across as Whiskey Crusader Sarah because
It does.
I
Oh, perfect. So
yeah.
So
there you go.
Oh, Weasley. One of the
That's
cats
cool.
is
On top of the fridge.
on top of the fridge. You know what?
Larry wants to know what else is on deck for Stellum down the road, or if you can say.
I can't really talk about what's on deck for Stellum, but what I can say is we're going to keep making these two blends because we love them hard. And the single barrel program, every barrel has what we call a cluster, which is the name for the group of barrels. So the original clusters are Cygnus, which is the 36% rye barrels, Lyra, which is the 21% rye barrels, and Serpens, which is the 95.5 rye barrels.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be a new cluster every once in a while of barrels. So it means like a new selection of barrels from that. And without really revealing what it is, we are working on things that we feel fit into the Stellum ethos as a more limited thing. We just don't want to yet talk about what they are.
That makes sense. You already sold out the first month here.
Yeah, I mean, step one for Stellum for us is making sure that we have more cases than we dreamed of available in August. And what we really want to hear from with Stellum is please get in touch with us, whether it's on social media or via email or whatever way, about how you are experiencing bourbon in the world right now, what's going on with being a modern person in America and bourbon. If you're having trouble finding it, we want to make sure that you can find, we want to fix that problem really fast.
Okay. Yeah, because we can't find the rye here yet. We got the bourbon. We need the rye.
Just because it didn't land there until a week or two ago.
Okay.
But there's a lot of it landed.
Okay, good. Now we got to sign. Anybody know where the rye is? Let us know, please.
I think right now, if a store tried to order it, they could.
Okay.
I'm so glad that Joseph just asked that. No. So the reason we were so careful at first about separating the brands is we do not want people to think of Stellum as Baby Barrel. We are not.
Okay. Yeah.
We are not Stag Junior. Stellum is its own project, and the way that it's made is totally different. It's blended with a different mentality, and the barrels are sourced differently, and most of the barrels are earmarked separately. Barrel, a huge amount of time and effort and money goes into sourcing unique sets of barrels as ingredients that only exist in certain situations. There's a lot of ingredients in barrels that the entire ingredient is used in that one batch. And we went through a lot of time and paid for a lot of partial trucks and weird stuff to get the barrels.
Okay.
Stellum is us saying we now have the capacity as a producer in America to create a product that we feel over delivers for the price at the price point at $55. It is, even though there are some barrels for Stellum which come from lineage that we cherry pick barrel into.
Sure.
They are as different as Maker's Mark and Jim Beam, and they have the same owner. That is the analogy that I use.
Okay.
That like you got to believe if like Jim Beam figured out something awesome to help them like bottle more bottles in a day, they would share with Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
But the whiskey's very different. The mentality is very different. Their routes to market are different. Their distributors are different in certain places. The difference for us is that everyone who works for Barrel also works for Stellum. Everything is an overlap.
Okay.
But there's certainly people who spend 90% of their time on Barrel and people who spend 50, 60% of their time on Stellum.
Okay.
Well, I like it. And honestly, I haven't been disappointed by a Barrel product yet. And the same goes with the Stellum. I mean, both of them are just exceptional whiskeys, in my opinion.
Well, thank you so much.
See, the problem is you keep making your products better and better. That's the problem. And then we keep going, how did you just get better every time? How is this possible? Right? like you said, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have this really great. Then, like I said, around Christmas time, something else is going to come out. It's going to be even better than this, which is terrifying.
Which barrel are you drinking over there, Matt?
I brought out the New Year.
New Year's?
Yeah. Which one? 2021?
2021. I think I've got the 19 as well in the other room.
2021 and 2018 are my two favorites.
I don't know if I had 18 or not. I know we've had several of them. I think a bunch of us bought different ones, and they were all phenomenal. We were excited because I think a lot of because Mirage just by us got like a couple of each different year, and it's like so we bought pretty much all of them because they're delicious.
It was really cool for us when we released BCS, the 15-year. People kind of started ignoring the New Year bourbon because it wasn't like the expensive holiday release from us anymore, and we love that because New Year is the most interesting and probably most like divisive bourbon we put out every year. It is essentially a batch. It's just the batch that we're like, let's do some cool stuff. Let's like move out of the classic bourbon flavor profile a little bit more. Let's feature some micro distilleries. And we don't make very much of it. And so first year, it took a little while in 2016, 2017, it sold out immediately. And we had people asking for it all year and it was gone. Starting in like 2019, because of BCS, it was like a slower burn. And so it's like, we just put it out. We make so little of it that it sells out from us immediately. And then it takes a little while to make its way through distribution. And we really like that it kind of sits on shelves in certain places through like the middle or the end of the summer until people sell out. And then it was devised to be like a celebration of us being an independent whiskey producer, like with our friend. It's the same price from us as all of the batches. Like we don't submit it to any awards. It's just like cheers to the New Year's product. Okay. And we lost that for a minute because it went allocated before BCS. And then when BCS came out, which we are also really proud of, but it's like an oaky, like 15-year-old bomb of a whiskey. Right. And like people focus on that who are like chasers. And then like New Year's still gets to be for people who like want to follow our company, which is cool.
Hey, I
like it.
So Steven has questions. Do team members feel like Stellum is more of a pet project so they feel more connected to it, or reverse Barrel?
No, I think what is difficult for us, at least as a sales team, is we all get really distracted by the new shiny thing. So whether it's Seagrass or Stellum or Bourbon 29, which is coming out in the next couple weeks, and we have to keep our eye on the thing coming out from us is not the same thing that's coming out from the distributor, and that's not the same thing that's at retail. Okay. And we have this like very, very extensive tasting sheet that the whole sales team has to fill out all the time. It takes like an hour to do the whole tasting sheet. And we do it with new releases, but what's more important is we do it with old releases a lot because we want to keep everyone excited. I say we want to keep everyone excited. Sounds like I'm like herding cattle. I'm not like, I want to like make sure that as a team, we all continually are excited about exploring and uncovering things within our own portfolio that we love. Absolutely. And so I get asked all the time, like, what are your favorite bourbons that you guys have released? And that's a hard question for me because every time we release one, I'm fucking stoked.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's only when going back over and over again, which ones like stand out. I couldn't have told you between batches 12 and 20 what my favorite was in the moment. But now if I go back and I really look at them as like in a vacuum because they've been sold out for so long, what were my favorites? I can say like 13 and 16 were my favorites in that.
Okay. That makes sense.
And it's because we like revisit them. I don't think anyone views Stellum as a pet project. I also think for all of us, the fact that Stellum is priced in a way that bars and restaurants can use it in cocktails is a new thing for us because we've all been very like back bar and retail focused in the past couple of years. Joseph, nobody has found the Easter eggs on the Stellum bottle yet, and we're not telling anyone.
Nice.
All right.
Get my hands on an actual
As
bottle.
the overpriced secondary market helps sales.
Cheers, Jake.
Jake, I don't think so. I don't want to say no, like it hasn't helped sales, but we very deliberately just don't pay attention to the secondary market. I think when you are a whiskey producer and you see something that is people are paying tons of money for secondary, or they are like sending message about where to get, they're looking for like one case drops into stores. It's really easy to pat yourself on the back and say you did a good job. But really what you did is you like created a medium amount of demand for something that you didn't think through the launch of. And what we are more excited about is a situation with like Stellum where people want it and they can't have it. And it's because we're like, we haven't launched in that state yet. Or they want it and they can find it and they're excited about it. That means you made a good thing. It like people are not buying it because they can't have it. They're buying it because they like it and they're excited about it. I am sure there are things in the barrel portfolio that are expensive on the secondary market.
Sure.
What would make me sad is if things that are available from us are expensive on the secondary market, because we don't want anyone to be spending more money than the reasonable amount on our products. And our products are expensive to begin with. Sure. And so the only situations in the secondary market that we really pay attention to are like, is current release dovetail on the secondary market? That's silly because anyone could buy that from us right now. And so that is helpful for us when we see secondary seagrass in a state that the distributor has seagrass, like, and we can be like, what the hell is going on? And we can then know that like, we don't have someone in that state and, oh, wow, like our distributor was limiting it 1 bottle per account for no reason. Like just like something silly happened and we can fix it. And like the secondary helps us if we notice it and it's a problem we can fix. It's an awesome and an honor when people value your brand in the place where it gets to the secondary in that way. But it also is kind of sad, not like disappointed sad, but sad that like we want to give someone the product for the amount that it costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Not twice that.
Yeah. And so like if someone is thinking of getting something secondary that is reasonably newly released, we would rather them email us and say, where can I buy this? And we will find a place for them to buy it.
That's awesome. That's really spectacular. You guys do that.
Yeah. I mean, we do our best. Sometimes it's like, I don't know. We got an email about Whiskey Batch 2 recently, which like we know is sort of on shelves in some random places, but we just couldn't find a place that shipped to the person who was asking about it. But we try. Like there are whole, like, I don't want to say whole company, but like sales team plus compliant, like emails, like, does anyone know anyone in a state that is allowed to ship that has this? Because like fixing a problem for a person who is willing to go out of their way to email us for a specific bottle that they're looking for, like that is, we don't want anyone to ever think that we're not a company that's willing to do that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There's plenty of companies that could care less, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. You guys
pour myself a little more Stellum Rye because I do have to log off in a minute. But by minute, I mean like theoretical minute. Like I can stay more than 60 seconds. But
okay.
But
are there any last questions from anyone or from either of you?
Yeah.
I don't have any questions for you. You've been a fantastic guest.
Really have.
Yes.
Love all the information.
Don't cut yourself so short that you have to log off as soon as our stream is done, because I need at least 2 minutes of your time.
Are you guys going to end when I leave? Is that the...
Yeah.
Okay. I'll stay for a bit.
So, any questions, go ahead and put them on in. This has been wonderful and educational. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for all of the kind words. It's interesting. Like, we don't feel like Stellum is like a baby company because it's all the same people, but it is new in America. And so I want to spend as much time as I can talking to people who are looking for it, found it, enjoy it, confused about it, want it. Like, we are crafting the way that we speak about it. The only thing that we know about Stellum is the way that we make it and how excited we are about the whiskey itself. But that is not everything in a whiskey company. Like, how you present your product and how you back that up conversationally is a huge part of what being a whiskey brand is. And so thank you for having me, but also, like, thank you everyone who asked questions, and please reach out if there's anything, if you want to talk about it, if you have any questions about it, anything we can do for you.
Definitely. Oh,
Most definitely. And you say thanks for kind words. They're not just kind words, they're true words.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't say nice things. I say true things.
If we don't like it, everyone
just have
knows.
to be nice sometimes.
It's not pretty. All right,
yeah, you don't want to get mad
Thanks,
around.
Yeah, I have feelings. Will has feelings, and we're more than happy to express our feelings. If we don't like a whiskey or a brand, we're happy to tell you.
Yep.
So no, we say whiskey is the best of the year. This because it really is. This seriously, you guys, if you can find this, buy it. It's you don't have to take any words, but I guarantee you this is the best freaking bourbon this year that we've had.
Thank you so much.
Hands down.
And the rye is a contender for sure.
Yeah, I would suggest buying the Stellum Rye and the Seagrass. You can find both because they're both. You're gonna love both of them. They're just both fabulous products. Especially coming from Will and Sarah, who don't like rye. This is unbelievable praise for this product.
To me, what's fun is that when you actually taste them back to back, it's like, okay, I'm really happy I paid that price for that one. And then you taste the Seagrass and you're like, holy shit, that's absolutely worth double the price of that one. It's just, it's amazing. It's incredible. So
yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So before we wrap things up as well, Matt, what do we have coming up? Or what did you edit?
Scorch, Ardbeg Scorch.
Ardbeg Scorch.
I wasn't in that one.
You're right. You weren't because you don't want to be.
But
it's delicious.
Yeah, I would gladly tell you that I don't like peat and I don't like peat products, and I'll tell you that I don't like a product.
Or you haven't found a product you like with peat in it yet.
She's tried so
many.
Did like that Jay? Was it Jay Riddle?
That's the only one.
Peated bourbon.
So another peek into our weird sales team practices. When people start, we taste through everything and we ask everyone to pick one that they don't like, and then we make them drink it every night till they like it.
Yeah, I we should just waterboard it with it. They won't let me.
No, it's that if you have a good spirit and you drink it every night, you finally get used to it. Like, it wins, and then you're like, okay, well, like, I like this is my thing now. Like, I might not like it, but I identify with it.
So I have a project for you. I want Will to film every day of Sarah drinking peat till she likes it.
The problem with that is that peat gives me a headache lately, and I ain't playing that game. So maybe you just don't like it, but also maybe one day I'm gonna pour you like a 30-year-old Lafroig, and you're gonna be like,
oh, that sounds amazing.
And I'm gonna
go. She got through an entire Highland Park dinner.
I did.
True,
and
that was
food. But the food was amazing.
And I did drink a lot of her whiskey.
He did.
It was really good. No doubt.
Chef Dat was epic.
I mean, I've tried so many.
We don't make peated stuff. I'm not going to try to convince you, but I'm sure there's a whiskey out there that you'd be like,
got my dovetail.
Got my dovetail.
Yeah. And, like Matt said, there was the J Riddle. It's a peated bourbon that I didn't turn my nose up to. Yeah. So.
Oh, and yes, Joseph, Head Club sucks. I agree. Worst fucking scotch ever made. They should flush that shit down the toilet and use it as a toilet bowl cleaner.
Cat ears.
So, anyway.
I should head out. So, all
right.
If you want to chat, we should.
Cheers, everybody.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week with Bubble Bath Bourbon. It'll be a blast to have him on. So we're doing some San Jose Spirits that Sarah will love so much. All right, see you guys next week. Cheers.
Bye,
Cheers, everybody.